Okay, it is 6 o'clock, and we are calling our regularly scheduled board meeting to order. And we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Are the kids back next time? Yes. Students, I love it when the students are here. We all do. Okay. If there are no changes to the agenda, could we please get a motion to adopt?
Move approval, Hembry.
Thank you. Second?
Second, Borkman.
Thank you. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. That brings us to the superintendent report. Dr. Schumacher.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Sinclair. And as you mentioned, we're getting kids back really quickly. So can you believe it's the first day of schools? It's here. It's here tomorrow. So we're so excited to welcome students back to Shawnee Mission Schools over the next few days. Since our last meeting, our educators have returned and have been busy getting ready for another outstanding school year with our students. Over 3 days, we hosted New Team Member Academy and welcomed more than 200 new educators to Shawnee Mission. We had an amazing showing from our community as we continued a favorite tradition, a pep rally style clap out, to cheer these new team members as they head to their classrooms. Then, later last week, we began holding professional development for more returning educators and staff members. I'm so proud of the Shawnee Mission team and all of the work that is being done to start the year for our kids. It's going to be an incredible school year. Speaking of incredible, Kimberly Gilman, who I think is in our audience tonight, a teacher at Hawker Grove Middle School, is the 2024 Kansas History Teacher of the Year. Absolutely. So what an honor this is, presented by the Gilder Lerman Institute of American History, and it recognizes exceptional elementary through high school teachers for their outstanding contributions to American history education. Ms. Gilman receives a $1,000 honorarium, an archive of American history books, and educational materials curated by the Gilder Lerman Institute. She also will be honored at a ceremony where she will be recognized as one of 53 finalists for the 2024 National History Teacher of the Year. So again, congratulations to Ms. Gilman. Our district's updated strategic plan was adopted by the Board of Education in June. Now, we're all working on implementing the strategies and action steps of this plan. Community involvement, both internal staff and external community members, is what made the update of this plan such a success. And it will be what makes the implementation a success as well. We're seeking nominations for individuals to serve on teams that will put this plan into action. We'll need people working across the strategies, and as a reminder, those are learning, belonging, people, technology, and mental health. We will include a link in the recap for anyone in our community to make nominations. Right along with the exciting start of school, we are also looking forward to opening a rebuilt elementary school this week. Rushton Elementary School will open to students and staff tomorrow. This evening, the school is hosting their back-to-school night, where many people will get their first look at the new space. It features large corridors for collaborative learning, a covered outdoor classroom, and a maker's lab. This is one of 5 elementary school rebuilds that were made possible by the $264 million bond referendum approved by voters in 2021. We are so grateful for the community support that makes this grand opening possible. The new season of Shawnee Mission Mic'd Up is here, and I'm proud to be hosting this podcast with Dr. Brittany Gonzer, who's our Director of Professional Learning. Our first episode highlights a lot of the excitement surrounding the start of the school year. We will be sharing episodes every other Thursday, and we encourage everyone in the community to follow us and download wherever you get your podcast. This is a great way to stay up to date on the Shawnee Mission School District. And then again, we'll include a link in the recap so anyone can watch or listen. And finally, as we look forward to tomorrow, we just wanted to take a moment to reflect on the new school year.
Shawnee Mission School District. It's the moment we've been waiting for. Are you with us, SMSD? Educators, families, our whole community. Let's hear for the East, North, Northwest, South, and West, and our more than 26,000 students. You all make us one Shawnee mission.
Shawnee Mission, are you all in?
All in on our strategic plan, facilities, technology, mental health, people, belonging, learning. All in on wildly important goals. All in on personalized learning. All in on college and career readiness. Real world learning, MVAs. All in on interpersonal skills, teamwork. From pre-K to graduation, we're all in to support student achievement. Every single student achieving their personal best. My name is Hayden and I go to Horizons High School and I'm all in.
I'm all in.
I'm all in for art.
We're all in at Westridge.
I'm all in for choir.
I'm all in for Crush You.
I'm all in for cross country and track.
We're all in.
It starts right here, right now.
Pretty terrific, right?
That's a good one. Yeah.
So kids are back tomorrow. That's what we've been working for. We're all in, guys. That
Yeah.
concludes my superintendent's report.
All right, thank you. That was so fun. The graphics were really interactive too. That's great. Okay, before we go, from Mic'd Up, how many meals did we serve?
Oh my gosh, what? Oh, don't quite.
Like it was like 2
million
something.
Christy?
A
Dr.
lot.
Ziegler?
2 million. Over 2 million.
Something.
You don't need to be specific. I think the 2 million says it all. That was a lot.
She's looking it up.
Okay,
She'll have
yeah.
a number for you in a
You guys
second.
went exact. I just was like, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm impressed you listened to the
Oh,
podcast.
yeah.
Thank
Oh,
you.
yeah, I love those. Okay, so we can jump right into our discussion items. So 3.1, we have a communications program update kicked off by this great video. So Dr. Schumacher.
Yeah, so it's my privilege to introduce our communications team. I'm going to throw it to Mr. Smith, who leads our team. And as you mentioned, that video and everything else that gets put out is a great example of everything they do to celebrate the Shawnee Mission School District. So thanks to David, and I'll let you introduce your team.
Good evening, Board. I am certainly tempted to allow that video to serve as the communications report. However, the team has worked incredibly hard. You deserve a chance to hear from them. You won't hear from all of them. Several of them, even though we're communications, have reminded me that they've got something in the contract that says no public speaking. So I will give you a chance to hear from the rest of the team, Kristen Babcock, Michaela Scruggs, and Jillian Hodges. Kristen.
So I think one of the most amazing things about education is to being able to celebrate our students.
It's always important to accentuate all the positive things that are happening in a school district. I love that whenever it happens at North.
And it's just really an incredible amount of work for a really small department. And they do it so incredibly that no one really even notices how much work it is.
I was the intern in the Shawnee Mission School District Communications Department for a little over a year. I learned how to interact with adults, how to run cameras, how to, write better. I just learned a lot, and I just had so many people there teaching me, supporting me, showing me what I could do and what I could be. So it was just amazing, and I think every student should have the opportunity to have that real world learning experience, because I learned so much and I will take it with me for the rest of my life.
Working with all the different equipment in the studio and getting help from a bunch of professionals who have done this way longer than I have, it's given me an edge against a lot of my peers. My junior year, I helped out with the live streaming for graduation. Graduation, that's a rite of passage for anybody, especially parents. So just to be able to look back on that moment and see your faces live that means a lot to everybody, and especially the people that can't fly in to come see you graduate. It means everything to those parents.
So the communications department was fabulous to work with. Just from start to finish, it was really seamless. You know, we didn't really know where to start, but the Real World Learning team got together, we put something together initially, and then the expertise of the communications team came into place. Every step of the way they were asking us if we were happy with it, if there was anything else that we would like to change, and then also talking you through all the steps of how to get this individual plan of study video launched.
If you're in a crisis situation, it can be difficult to think of a proper way to communicate to the community. Having this team and having that support, it enables us to focus on whatever the crisis may be. We get to do our job as an administrator in working specifically on the situation rather than having to worry so much about when and how we're going to communicate.
So I think one of the best things that the communication department does that I get excited about every year is to see the all-star awards that are given throughout our district. I do love when our communications department comes in the building to be able to highlight our wonderful teachers and what the things that our students are doing. So bring on the cameras, they're more than welcome.
All behaviors are contagious, and a positive behavior can be a very contagious behavior. And so when that message is being captured through our communications department and then promoted, it incentivizes more students to do the same thing.
I'm sorry for those districts who don't have this professional service. The ability to take what we wanted to say and make it into something so professional is something that is invaluable.
You know, we wouldn't have the success that we have and the success that we all have working together if they weren't just really incredible people and great professionals.
I just want to say thank you so much for having me. I really could not think of a better outcome for what I could have done this year. They will always be forever my mentors.
Members of the Board of Education, Dr. Schumacher, Dr. Stubblefield, thank you so much for giving us an opportunity to highlight the work of the Shawnee Mission School District Communications team. We are so proud of the many ways this team is all in for Shawnee Mission, and tonight we wanted to provide you a backstage pass or a behind-the-scenes look at the work this team does. The communications team is served by 9 individuals, and right here we are displaying a picture of the team at the 2023 Shawnee Mission Education Foundation Fall Breakfast. We all work in support of the district's mission. On the screen is the strategic plan mission that was just reaffirmed by our community and readopted by our board in June. Through our work, we are always striving to build and strengthen a web of support that allows our students to achieve their full potential. We start with the strategic plan because it guides all of our work, and also because we thought it would be a great example of the way our team has worked behind the scenes. So we all knew it would take broad community engagement in order for the update of the strategic plan to be successful. So we were proud to work with district leaders to develop an engagement plan. Through videos, inside magazine articles, and publications on various platforms, we worked to engage our community in the process. Then when community members were engaged through the steering committee and action teams, we were happy to cover their work and highlight it back to the community. When those teams developed a draft plan, Mandy Lavelle, our graphic designer, added her visual enhancements to the draft. And now that we have an updated, adopted plan, our team will be working with various teams to put plans into action. We have our own action steps we are working on, and we will be reflecting all of this progress back to the community and supporting those who are presenting updates to the Board of Education. And speaking of the board, regular meetings are often a prime time when our team is working behind the scenes. In the back of the room, we have Jordan Kerfeld, who, in collaboration with our ICT team, is providing a live stream to our community as we speak. We also coordinate our Pledge of Allegiance students. We coordinate the All-Star Awards. And after this meeting, after the presentation, we will be reviewing, finalizing, and distributing the recap that goes out to all staff and families.
So as a team, we often speak about how our goal is to build a web of support for our students. Telling our story, providing transparency, and sharing information helps our community engage, which serves to help every student achieve their personal best. To help build and reinforce this web of support, we focus on reaching out to our diverse and extensive community. As you know, the Shawnee Mission School District encompasses 14 municipalities, and within the district, there are more than 100,000 households. Our work is focused on supporting all teams and schools throughout the district, as well as connecting with the students, families, and residents within our boundaries. Our audiences include staff, families, prospective employees, the Board of Education, community members, members of the business community, community partners, members of the media, and volunteers. This visually loud slide allows some of the many it shows some of the many platforms and channels our team uses to reach our audiences. We go into detail in the written program evaluation, but we would like to highlight a few platforms for you this evening. First is our website. SMSD.org is a central resource for staying connected and informed. Designed with our staff, families, and community in mind, the website provides access to important resources for staff and families. It includes information about bond projects and progress, as well as recent news updates and stories. Throughout the year, recent news posts will feature student and staff achievements, innovative work in the classroom, and essential information for our community. Many of these stories and elements are also cross-promoted on our social media accounts. And with that, let me turn this over to Jillian so she can tell you about our expansion in social media and our new platform, the podcast.
Before we get into our expansion and some more information on our newest platform, I would like to make this an interactive part of our presentation and ask that everyone pull out your phone at this time. And what I would ask you to do is scan the appropriate box. So if you are an iPhone user, please scan the green box. If you have an Android or any other brand of phone, please scan the yellow box. After scanning, you should see a button on your screen that says follow. If you are in Apple Podcasts, it should be up in the upper right-hand corner. If it opened Spotify for you, then it should be right in the center of the screen. Please click on the follow button. And now, congratulations, you are all following the newest Shawnee Mission platform. Shawnee Mission Mic'd Up launched in August of 2023, and our goal was to offer a more conversational storytelling platform that would open the window to the classroom for our stakeholders in a less formal format. It was also to provide a level of transparency by allowing our extended community to hear directly from the superintendent. In our first season, we produced 21 episodes. 3 of those episodes were on location, and the technical setup for every episode is incredibly impressive, but it's on site for these episodes, it takes about 2 hours or more to set up and about an hour to tear down from those. So huge kudos to our amazing production team. In addition to the actual recording and production, we also developed a landing page for the podcast, and that's where our listeners can find past episodes. They can find the transcripts of each episode in both English and Spanish, and of course, they can also find places to submit feedback, ideas, or questions. So we currently have 167 followers. That does not include the thousands who have watched or listened to the podcast but don't actually follow like you all now do. But this is across our 3 biggest platforms, which are YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. We have nearly 7,000 views or listens across those top 3 platforms. And so if we average it out, it's about 300 views per episode. Season 2 launched last week, and we are very excited to grow our audience and keep sharing our story. And talking about sharing our story, social media has been an area of extraordinary growth for us in the last 2 years. This is a look at our followers across all of our platforms, and I should add in that in the last 2 years, we started at 0 followers for TikTok, and we are now close to 1,000, as you can see. We were also in single digits for our main Instagram account, and as you can see, we've grown that one quite a bit. So what does all of this actually mean, all of this data? It means that we can actually look at data in real time and strategically decide where to post and what the content of those posts are going to be. For example, for the last 2 years, the highest performing post on Facebook is the Red Wednesday post, which you can see in the middle of your screen, announcing the school closures for the celebration of the Chiefs' Super Bowl win. The 2023 Red Wednesday post is a very close second. Now, there's not really another purpose to these posts other than to let our community know about pertinent information, and of course, go Chiefs. Whereas on Instagram, the most engaged post is the dedication of the Nolan Davidson Memorial Garden at Kristen McAuliffe Elementary. This is our story. This shows the love, the dedication, and the support throughout the SMSD community. So by looking at the data and the trends, we can tailor our content so that the purpose of the post fits the mindset of the audience at the time that they're on that platform.
So another way that our team keeps our audience informed, engaged, and all in is through regular initiatives and programs. 3 examples are the All-Star Recognition Program, Read Across SMSD, and Inside Magazine. The All-Star Recognition Program honors certified and classified team members who positively impact students and their school community. Each award winner is featured in a video story that is shown at the Board of Education meetings, and then they are honored here, of course, in person. Since 2021, our team has supported Read Across SMSD in collaboration with NEA Shawnee Mission and the Shawnee Mission Education Foundation. The program features a monthly video and a webpage with curated resources and reading titles. And then, one of our largest publications is Inside Magazine. Published 3 times a year in print and digital formats, it is mailed to every mailbox in the Shawnee Mission School District. A high-profile communication time for our team occurs when there are calendar changes due to inclement weather. When our community needs to know about cancellations, we share alerts on multiple platforms. We also support our school buildings during times of crisis. We collaborate with district teams, law enforcement, and our school communities to ensure timely and accurate information is shared. During these situations, we manage communications so building leadership can focus on taking care of their school community. Our team also works to support large-scale events that help to strengthen and engage the entire Shawnee Mission School District community. Examples are groundbreaking ceremonies for our elementary school rebuilds, the R&D forum, and graduation ceremonies at each of our high schools. Another notable event is the Fall Breakfast. Each year, the communications team works closely with the Education Foundation to plan and produce this major event that brings community leaders, elected officials, parents, and educators together to celebrate the achievements of Shawnee Mission students and staff. So, as you saw in the opening video, our team is also dedicated to mentoring and supporting student learning. Last year, our team welcomed a student intern from Shawnee Mission West. Her name was Lily. She was a valuable member of the team and was open to learning everything from copywriting to camera operation. She's just fantastic. In addition, we support students in broadcast classes by providing production support for Encounter Shawnee Mission. We also work to provide broadcast students with hands-on experience by operating cameras at events like the Fall Breakfast, the R&D Forum, and Commencement.
We also value any opportunity we can take to enhance our own professional skills, and we collaborate regularly with the Kansas School Public Relations Association. We also regularly submit our work for award consideration through CANSPRA and NSPRA, the national organization. On the screen, we are proud to display 10 awards that our team has earned from the national organization in the last 2 years. And we were proud to be selected to present this year at NSPRA at their national seminar this year. There is a photo of 3 of the 4 of us as we shared all about what we learned from starting a podcast to tell the SMSD story. Telling the SMSD story is what we are all about. We do that so we can help build connections and support our students. That's why we are all in. And we love nothing more than to see that come full circle. We see that come full circle each time we hold graduation and we find out about the families and friends who were able to enjoy the ceremony with help from the screen amplification on site or watch from various places around the world through the live stream. That happens when we help our curriculum department with a campaign to hire as-needed language interpreters, and they let us know that our campaign helped them get a solid first pool of applicants. And it also happens when we get notes like the one I'm about to share from a parent who saw our podcast episode highlighting special education. This is a comment truly about the work of our educators and our special education team, but we were happy to bring this story to a bigger audience. So this is a note from a mother who told us that she has a young child, not yet enrolled in the Shawnee Mission School District, who has Down syndrome. This parent said, "It builds my confidence and encourages my heart that his world and community are becoming more inclusive and kind when I hear stories like what you shared on the podcast. Keep up the good work. It really matters." Now, I know there's a lot of excitement in this room for the start of school. We are all excited for tomorrow. We are going to be grabbing cameras and we will be out in the schools because we know we have more amazing stories to tell.
And that's our presentation, and we'd be glad to stand for any questions that you have.
Thank you. Thank you for this. Wealth of communications. Love it. All right, so I'm going to look up and down the aisle, see if we have any questions. Yep, Mr. Garcia.
Thank you all for that awesome presentation. I love being able to follow along at home, you know. Although I don't follow every account because I don't have, let's just use X as an example. I no longer have a Twitter account. I'm curious as to how we ensure that all pieces of information are on every platform, or is that even the nature of how we post in Shawnee Mission? I assume that we try to have the same posts on each platform, but it can get kind of challenging. I just want to make sure we're reaching all of the parents. If we have 20,000 on Facebook and only 1.4K on Insta, how do we ensure that every message is being received in the right place, just to make sure?
Jillian, do you want to talk about how you make those choices?
Absolutely. So when we're looking at those numbers, and I know it can be kind of jarring to see that, you know, we have 20,000 followers on Facebook and we have nearly 19,000 on X. The way that we make those decisions about where to post content is really, we try to get most of it across as many platforms as we can, but also understand where certain content is going to be seen and actually connect with our audience. So I'm going to use the example of X because we all know it's a little bit of a mess right now. And it's the algorithm has changed. So basically they are promoting more paid content. So we're really relying heavily on the X algorithm in order to promote our content. Now that's not to say that our content isn't going to be seen on X. In fact, when I've been in some of the groups at the high schools and I asked the students, where do you find out about snow days? They said Twitter, which was actually kind of astounding to me. So the information does get out there on Twitter. It's just that it's a little bit more hit or miss. So if there's something that's very informative, like a snow day, or something that is lengthy in its text, Facebook. That's where we're really going to connect with our audience about information. Now, we can also share our story, things that our incredible staff, our incredible students. Those also get seen on Facebook, but they resonate a lot more when we have it on our Instagram and our TikTok, because that's where people want to watch and hear about stories and good news. So it's not getting lost there. And then again, Twitter, we kind of just use to amplify everything.
Thank you.
That's a great question. Anyone else? Yes, Mr. Westbrook.
Well, I can't hesitate to make an observation. I think it's a tremendously comprehensive program. I commend you on it. And the whole social media issue is still something that I think our society, marketing professionals, brand builders, everybody is really still learning about that. And we're learning with you as you do that work. And I appreciate how you're trying very hard to extend our message, to connect messages that people need to hear because they have an interest, and their interest is demonstrated by their commitment to certain social media. So thank you for working in that area. I guess my question would be, when do we go to the market, as it were, and ask with some reliable instruments to ask, opinion research, to find out how much our community understands our message? It's not just about publicizing loyalty to our brand. I think Shawnee Mission is the universal descriptor that encompasses 14 cities that are in the boundaries of our school district. More often than not, people will say, I live in Shawnee Mission, I live in Overland Park, I live in Prairie Village, I live in Shawnee Mission. And I think we have a lot to be proud about with that. But how often do we go out and actually say, okay, of all the messages we're sending out to these groups, are we getting that message across? Is it resonating, not only inspiring people to be loyal, but having them understand why they should be, why there are things we're doing that they should really understand and feel good about? How do we do that?
That's a really challenging one for us, and something that we talk about with our colleagues from across Kansas and across the country. One of the ways that we talk about and kind of feel like, yes, we know we're reaching folks, is when it comes to bond referendums, because that's a place where people, through their votes, get a chance to express whether they're hearing our message and valuing it or not. But I think we're always going to have a lot more work to do, both in terms of, and it's one of the reasons why we try to use as many different platforms as we can, because we know website, social media, television station, podcast, all of those reach different audiences. But your question is one we struggle with, finding ways to get good data to be able to understand what messages are resonating most, where do we need to continue to reach people. That's a challenge for us.
Well, as a follow-up, I just think it's really important for us to get grounded in that, because people will taxpayers, we have more people paying taxes for schools than sending their children to school.
Right.
And that didn't used to be the way it was, but it is the political reality today. And it's one thing to ask people to approve a bond referendum that will have a zero impact on taxes. But it's another if we were ever to ask for people to see their taxes go up. And I know there are thresholds there, but people turn, I think, to folks who have kids in school or grandchildren in school, and they say, are you happy? You know, how are our schools doing? I don't have kids there anymore. How are our schools doing? I just think we need to be very thoughtful about how we assess the depth of our community's commitment to our schools. And the depth, I think, is determined when it's time to really spend a little more money or do some things programmatically that we feel like we really need to do and are going to require some more money to do that. By golly, I'm not wanting to start any kind of an undercurrent here that I think taxes should be increased. But I just think that as we work on our messaging, we need to have an understanding of what is it that people really need to know about us that will make them deepen their commitment to us, not just being loyal to us because they always have been, but really believing earnestly that we're doing the things that need to be done to prepare our kids for a future that's going to be so challenging compared to what the past was all about. So I'm not giving a speech, I did, but I just want to make sure that we can be accountable to the messaging that we're using so that it does connect with what folks need to know about going forward.
Thank you. We hear you.
Ms. Ousley.
I'm just going to piggyback for a second off of David, because I had a conversation with an older neighbor, and I was curious how we cut the list for the distribution of Inside Shawnee Mission, because she was really excited to get the latest Inside Shawnee Mission magazine, and it occurred to me in my conversation with her that that was probably her sole connection to the district now, because she's not in a generation that is in contact with us via social media. She certainly doesn't have kids to get, the email updates from her building. And I'm not going to say that I don't appreciate Inside Shawnee Mission, because I do, but I actually probably access it more readily electronically. So when I get the hard copy, it may or may not be recycled. I'm not admitting to anything. I may make sure I give it to another elderly neighbor, depending on whether or not I know how those lists are cut. So I'm just curious, does that go to all of our patrons in the district, or how are we making that determination?
We don't cut any address. Any address that's in a zip code served by the Shawnee Mission School District gets a copy of
Inside
that.
Shawnee Mission. Well,
Yes.
I think that is brilliant. So I appreciate that, and I know that my neighbor did. So I hadn't thought about it from that perspective, and it was in light of what David was saying and in light of this presentation tonight, I just wanted you to know that it was well received.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Ms. Boyd-Norena.
So the last intern had a wonderful experience. You all loved her as well. Have you started the conversation on how to expand the experience and/or the number of interns? As you can see, I'm a proponent of interns,
Oh.
of internships. Man, changed my life.
And we are too. We certainly intend to have another intern this coming year. Some of, interns, as you know, volunteers aren't free, and so that creates work for us, which we're happy to do, and we'll definitely have another one this year.
Could I ask a question, maybe if it's Dr. Schumacher or Mr. Smith? I'm just thinking about the communications in part is allowing Shawnee Mission to tell our story as opposed to narrative being imposed upon us. And so what are ways, if you could talk to patrons and board members and, whatnot, how would you what would be one thing that would be really helpful in sharing our story with all these kind of platforms and tools in front of us?
Thoughts?
I'll lead off because I'm not the expert here, but maybe this will spur you on. Okay. So one of the things that we're sharing with all of our building leaders and our teachers and everyone else is that we do have a responsibility to tell our story, right? That we have a responsibility to share the great things that are happening in our school district rather than others misleading that story, right? So we are clearly doing wonderful things here, whether it be the strategic plan, our attention to the WIGs, those wildly important goals, the great work clearly happening in our classrooms. So whether it be socials or on our website or working with our communications team to get our story out, each of us in Shawnee Mission have a responsibility to tell that story. So that's one of the things that we are continuing to tell our leaders and our teachers.
Yeah. I would also want to make sure that people understand our public schools aren't just for the kids and the parents who attend those schools. Our public schools are integral to making this a great place to live. The schools benefit every single person who lives in the Shawnee Mission community. So for that reason, when our schools do well, we all benefit. And we can't do our work as a school district without support from the community. When you talk about things like internships, Ms. Boyd-Norena, we only have so many that we can give. But we have so many businesses in this community that can help our kids make the transition to real-world learning. And so, it benefits them. We have kids doing client-connected projects, which make a big difference for those companies, but it also benefits the community in which all of us live.
Thank you. Well, appreciate all the work that you do in sharing our story and providing that platform for all of us to kind of join in and push that message out and hear what others have to say actually too, right? It's very interactive, so thank you.
Dr. Sinclair, could I make one more?
Yes, please, Mr. Westbrook.
I would also observe that your annual breakfast meeting is such a spectacular event. And you don't have to persuade the people who are there are absolutely supporting Shawnee Mission 150%. So at that moment, what you do is you give them an opportunity to know what message they should carry to others in the community, and you do a spectacular job of it. And if there's ever a single event where I think everything culminates into one big crescendo, it's that event. And there's absolutely palpable energy in the room and tremendous devotion to our schools. If I were to cite one event that makes a huge difference in your communications platform, I think that would be a moment. And we don't have to convince anybody what to believe. They're there because they believe it. We just have to help them understand what to say to others when they're out talking about what caused them to get up at an ungodly hour in the morning to come to a breakfast meeting and have okay food. But I'm not now. And the kids. The other thing I got to tell you is the way you use the kids. I mean, it's terrific. They are the messengers who deliver the most persuasive message, and at that event, they do deliver that message. And It's a tremendous, tremendous moment. So congratulations on that, because it is really hard to pull something like that off. And every year you think, how can it get any better? And of course, the next year it does. So no challenge, just keep it up. It's good work.
Thank you. Kim Hinkle would want me to make sure to make clear that that's a foundation event for which we provide support. So.
And the food is terrific, and I would encourage everyone to attend.
It's on October 9th this year, and tickets are on sale on Smith's website.
All right.
And just
Okay.
say thank you to the
Yes.
team. You guys do amazing work. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay. Our next discussion item, 3.2, calendar revisions for 2024-25 and 25-26 school year. Dr. Schumacher.
Yeah, thank you. I'm going to throw this to Dr. Dennis, our Chief Academic Officer, but before I do, I'd like to make just a few comments. Recognize that bringing a calendar revision to the board the day before school starts is not best practice. However, after hearing from our families, our students, and our staff over the summer regarding this issue, we did feel like it was necessary for us to attempt to find a solution for what I think most of us would agree is not ideal for our students and staff. For many of us, Memorial Day weekend is the start of summer. Last year, because of snow days, we had to come back after Memorial Day, and I think many of us heard from our patrons about that. The changes that we're recommending tonight will do everything we can to ensure that this doesn't happen again this year or next. Now, saying that, the academic calendar is one of those things that you're never going to make everyone happy with. Dr. Dennis nor myself have any illusions that this calendar we are recommending tonight is going to receive 100% approval, but it does meet our district goals, meets our contractual obligations, and is responsive to our community. So with that lead in, Dr. Dennis, the floor is yours.
That's a very good introduction, so thank you very much for that. Go ahead. We do try to ground and filter our decisions through the strategic plan. So even a decision like, what does the calendar look like, we try to think about how does this impact our mission and the objectives of the strategic plan that you see here. So as Dr. Schumacher said, this is based on feedback that we received very clearly about where the school year needs to end, and that is that it should end prior to Memorial Day. It's a kind of complex question because it depends on a number of factors, including how many snow days we have and things that we don't have full control over. However, we can plan for, even if we use all of the snow days, how we can do that and still be done by Memorial Day. Go ahead. The other factor that we need to make sure that we're conscious of as we're making these decisions is the contract. We have 187 teaching days in the contract. And so as we made these recommendations to you tonight, that was a piece of the puzzle to make sure that we were still maintaining that contact time with students. Anytime we're developing a calendar, there are a number of considerations, and I know that I've kind of talked to you about this every December, but we have rules that we have to follow from the state level. We have contractual obligations that we need to follow from the PNA. And then there are preferences that we have based on needs from families, from students, and the community. We have to be conscious of holidays. Some of them move around, and that affects how things fall in the calendar. And of course, as I said, we want to make sure the strategic plan is foremost in our thoughts as we're putting these things together. So, this is a collaborative recommendation. I want to commend Jill and her team for having this conversation with us and working through the process. We also, as part of the conversation, brought some principals in for a discussion, and so this recommendation reflects their thoughts as well. So, going specifically through really two calendar requests. For 2024-25, the current school year, there is one day that we would go after Memorial Day as scheduled if we use all of our snow days. And so the recommendation is to make a switch. Right now, April 18th is not a school day. It's a day that is a flex day for teachers based on earning that time by making parent contact. we would switch that day with the day after Memorial Day. So April 18th would become a full-day student contact day. The last day of school would move then prior to Memorial Day. That's an early release day. That would just be the Friday then before Memorial Day. The effect for kids is they go one more day in April, but they get out one day earlier. The effect for teachers is that the contract stays the same length. It's a trade out of contract days. For next school year, it was a little more challenging because we have 2 days after Memorial Day, again, assuming all of the snow days are taken. So I'm going to take the second one of these first because it's the parallel to what we just talked about. We would switch a day in April for the day after Memorial Day. So that makes up one day. The second day, we make that up by starting one day earlier. That pushes the student first day back one day, it pushes the returning teacher employee back one day, and it pushes new teachers back one day. That does put us at July 31st for the first day with new teachers. As Dr. Schumacher said, this isn't something that everybody is really happy about, but it was the recommendation that came through the process. Again, the effect for students is one more day in August, one more day in April, but getting out by Memorial Day. Teachers would see no difference in the number of contract days that they worked. So, moving forward, we are conscious of this as a priority moving forward. Beginning with the next calendar I bring to you, it shouldn't be an issue because Memorial Day flips to the end of the month, and so we'll have more flexibility and more time there. In the meantime, we're going to continue conversations that have started through this process with NEA Shawnee Mission to try to identify and alleviate barriers and remove those barriers to being able to have the best calendar we can provide. So with that, I would make those recommendations and answer any questions that you may have.
All right. Do I have any questions? Yes, Ms. Borgman.
Thank you, and certainly from my students, my kids who are students, they definitely did not enjoy, going back after Memorial Day, so I'm sure this is going to be met with, welcome arms, open arms. Just wondering, I'm assuming the teachers are also happy with this, as I did hear from a number of teachers disappointed that they were going to have to go after Memorial Day, but I did want to just check in and make sure that you chatted with the NEA or another group of teachers.
We did chat with NEA. They were part of this conversation. Jill, I don't know if you want to add anything to that, but.
Oh, no, just our first monthly meeting, it was number one on the agenda.
That answers that question. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
This is the perfect time to have this conversation, right? In the spirit of continuous improvement, it's a great time to reflect and see if we can not repeat what happened last year.
Right.
Yep, Ms. Hembry.
Yeah, thank you. I cannot imagine juggling this. I feel like I get so much feedback from people, and it tends to be like, start after Labor Day, but end before Memorial Day, but also take 4 weeks off at the holidays, but also shouldn't spring break be 2 weeks? So thank you for doing the work you've done. My question is about whether, because I get so many, at least I am guessing all of us get a lot of questions come like beginning of spring break of like, is May 23rd really the last day? Is it going to go earlier? Is it going to go later? Like, what are the circumstances that cause us to move the calendar, and what timeliness do we anticipate for that?
The end of the school year, the last date is set typically about the 1st of April, give or take, and it's based on how many snow days we've taken. The Chiefs have thrown a wrench into that the last couple of years because we have to factor that in as well. But how many of those days we miss up to that point in the school year, the superintendent can make a pretty educated guess at that point.
So if it's 4 or less, whether they're snow days or red snow days, this calendar holds. But if it moves past 4.
If we go more than that, there's some provisions in the state. I don't want to, it gets pretty complex.
Okay, I'll leave it to you.
I think we're okay even with that, with some grace that the state would give us within limits. So if it's that bad, then we'll come back to you.
4 or less, we can sit
4 or
pretty.
less is easy.
Okay,
Yes.
got it. Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you for opening this back up. I think it's might have been a little daunting or a little jarring, but I think it's well worth it, and so thank you.
It's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, great. All right, we have a couple of consent items, beginning with item, and again, thank you for the work. The consent items 4.1 through 6.1, bond consent. If there are no, is there no desire to pull a consent item, could I get a motion to approve?
So moved, Ousley.
All right, second?
Second, Hembry.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. All right, we have time for board comments. Ms. Borgman.
Yeah. Welcome back to the students. So excited to see our buildings filled with students again, and good luck to all the teachers and administrators, and just really hoping for a wonderful school year.
That's great. All right. Anyone else? Oh, Mr. Westbrook, yes.
I appreciate the comments that folks have made during the open comments section of our board meeting about our smartphone policy, and I continue to remain concerned about that and hope that we can, as part of our work and the execution of our strategic plan, can reach a prompt resolution on that. I don't think that it is a complicated issue. I think we can make it complicated if we're not careful. And I hope that we can resolve the matter so that kids who are coming back to school, and they're coming back right now, have an understanding soon about what our policy is going to be on that. I think it's clear that there's a pretty strong belief that those phones are interfering with the atmosphere that we really want to create in our schools. I've talked about this, so I don't want to be redundant, but the Department of Redundancy Department, I'm going to continue to move on this issue. So, and the other comment I wanted to make is that tonight we voted on renewing a subscription or a commitment to one of the software packages that we use for student communications and records and so forth. And I appreciate that once we have a great relationship going with a vendor, that we don't want to go out and put that out for bid every year, but that we will from time to time revisit those relationships to make sure that they're doing what they need to be doing. I think at some point we also need to raise the question of what happens to the data that our vendors use when they get access to student behavior and staff behavior and so forth. This whole issue of big data is becoming such a remarkable, fascinating area, and it's one that has become quite lucrative to a lot of businesses, and a lot of businesses are innocently, we're giving up a lot of our data. Nobody's being betrayed by giving up that data, but we're giving up a lot of our data, and sometimes businesses can reaggregate that data to become a valuable asset for the pursuit of profits. So as that big data issue becomes bigger and bigger, it's a $25 billion annual industry right now, and it's projected to triple in the next 3 years. So I think as we continue to have these relationships with our vendors who do make use of our data, we ought to think about what are the provisions that we've agreed to or not agreed to, and how are we executing vigilance in that area. I don't want to sound like a Luddite. I think technology is so valuable to helping our kids learn and accelerate what we're trying to accomplish and doing it much more efficiently. But at some point, I also think how many of us download an app and don't bother to read through all the conditions that we've agreed to get the app on our phone? And we've just given up a lot of data choices because of the behavior that
Mr. Westbrook, I think I would like to, and maybe it's an opportunity for a later discussion, but I think there is pretty serious consideration given to data privacy for our students. So I just want to put that check in there before we continue on.
I appreciate that comment, and I do not want to imply in any way that we don't give that consideration. I just think the world is changing in that area, and I'd love to, at some point, get an update on how we monitor that and take advantage of any opportunity we have to offset our expenses with either lower prices or some revenue from that. So I apologize for going on and on about it. I'm not worried about it. I just would like it to get on our agenda.
Okay, yeah. And I would say it's probably been on our agenda for quite a while. So I think that we can continue to circle back with that with updates or I should let our superintendent speak. Does anybody else have any other board comments? I would just like to urge, I appreciate some of the concern among our board members too about the cell phone policy. And I think that we need to, in the face of kind of a feeling of urgency, we also need to respect the process sometimes. Simple questions don't always have easy answers, maybe. I don't know if that's how that saying goes. So I think there's issues that come up in Shawnee Mission and in school districts across the country that merit urgency, but the process of addressing those, I think we just need to make sure we have that respect for what needs to happen to move forward. So, anyways. Yes, Dr. Schumacher?
Yeah, maybe just a reminder that we do have language in our student handbooks in regards to personal device usage, both at the elementary and middle school level. There's specific language in there and high school level. And I would reiterate the sentiment to give the strategic plan action teams time to do their work. They will start that work as immediately as possible. We have a meeting with them next week, and they will start that work, and we will be bringing a recommendation, a very thoughtful recommendation to the board as soon as we possibly can.
Thanks. Okay, so that concludes the regular portion of our meeting. So I'll close our meeting and move us into executive session. So I'm going to look for approval of executive session for confidential student matters. And Ms. Boyd-Narone, if you could read the statement, or the motion.
I move that we go into executive session to discuss confidential student matters pursuant to the exception relating to actions adversely or favorably affecting a student under coma, and the board will reconvene in the boardroom at 7:15. I invite Dr. Schumacher, Dr. Stubblefield, Pam Lewis, and Rachel England to join us.
All right, do I have a second?
Second, Workman.
Thank you. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 7-0, and we will be back for possible action. I will look to Ms. Boyd Nerona to read a motion for us, in which we will then act upon.
I move to deny the parent appeal of the administration's denial of the non-resident enrollment application for student PP, and to affirm the administration's denial of the application based on failure to meet the good standing criteria.
Do I have a second?
Second, Westbrook.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 7-0, and that concludes our executive session. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.